Good morning, Modern Steaders. I think this is the coldest morning so far up here at the off-grid property. It's 3 degrees out right now. It was -2 when we got up this morning. Whew. I'm glad we got the wood stove up here today. It'll be nice having the fire today.
It will. It heats up fast.
It does. We got everything we need for the floor system so we can insulate it and then put a floor down. We also got our door so we can figure out our rough opening and how we're gonna do the doorway for it. Once we get everything once we get the floor installed today, we're gonna go up above and talk about some ideas we have for the property, and we're thinking about putting the house. The 2x4 spacer that's supposed to be on the bottom here fell off, and we gotta screw it back onto the nailing flange. So I'm gonna hold this up and you'll have to get underneath and put this and screw through some of those holes back into place like so.
I don't want to push it too much because it will break it.
Okay.
You want to come more in?
No, that'd be fine. So now. So we got some 1-inch thick foiled back foam we're gonna put down to insulate the floor so we don't get cold feet. And then on top of that, we're gonna put some plywood, and that'll be our flooring system for now. And then we can put on top of it whatever we want for our flooring. So let's go in and measure the width. A little warm on the old hands.
If you go right away.
Burning good. There we go. It'd be nice when we're nailing on a floor that's insulated and not just got the cold air from underneath coming over it. I want to put our floor in first so I know the height of the floor, so I know what height to set our door at.
Oh, that's right.
That's why we're gonna do the floor before we do the door. So we'll start here, get this all installed. The last sheet I'll leave out, but I'll know my height, and then I can know where my wall's gonna be and where I wanna have my sill plate and all that stuff. And then we can cut the doorway out and then I don't think we're gonna do the angle line like we did on the windows for the doors. I have another idea for framing off the doorway. When you're up at your off-grid property, you get to bring your broom up, but you have a snow brush in your car, you don't do the same.
We hope.
We hope.
Make sure you clean it off when you scrape your car.
Yeah. Works is good, but not as easy. Good thing it's not a big cabin. Perfect. That actually worked a lot better than I thought it would. It's a good thing we live in snow country, because if we didn't, we wouldn't have the snow brush with us today. That worked out really well. All right, let's get a couple of pieces cut. Oh, that sun feels so nice. But I bet the wood stove feels better than the sun right now.
Yeah. I wish my nose wouldn't run when it's cold.
The nice thing about this foam is it's foil faced, which makes it a water barrier, an air barrier, and a vapor barrier, and it will help control sound too. But the good thing is we're gonna glue it down on the floor, and if there's any chemicals in the wood floor from it being a shipping container, it's all gonna be sealed underneath, and then the fumes won't be able to come up into the cabin area. Good?
Yeah.
Stuff cuts like butter.
Even better.
I'm gonna stick this one in the doorway. I'll be right back. We'll cut one more. We'll get two in at a bleh. So cold, my mouth is freezing up. It's hard to talk. We'll get two in at a time. Glue we're gonna use. I'm gonna use a Loctite. Ooh. Really? Ow. Let's make sure I get that too tight. So this is rated to work in temperatures up to 0. So I'm glad it's warmed up some. There we go. It's gooey. Oh, I feel like getting warmer in here already.
Seriously.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice though? Let me measure where 4 feet goes so we don't get glued past. Just past that line, okay. So we've been having a lot of people asking us what we're doing with the cabin. The cabin's gonna be a little retreat getaway, and when we're up here building on the property, we will have a place to have as our home base. We can have it set up with a place for comfort while we're building, and a place to kind of get away, and a place to cook in. And we were also saying in the future how this could make a nice office or an editing building. Look.
The sun, it feels so good.
You sunbathing?
Love it.
It's nice to have the warmth of the sun come out.
Yeah, just even the sun in the warmth.
Yep.
You think vitamin D can get through all these clothes?
Just on your face, babe.
Well, I'm not taking anything else
You don't
off.
want to take any more clothes off. Foam is so messy. I have a love-hate relationship with it. It's so messy, but it does such a good job insulating. It's just you got to put up with it when you're installing it, and then after that, it's worth it. Alright, I'm gonna go cut the plywood sheets and then we'll be right back. Alright. It doesn't like the cold. So tomorrow we'll come up and we'll cut out the door opening. That's gonna make a big difference.
Huge.
Yep. It's gonna let a lot of light in. It's gonna look nice.
But you will see so much more than
Yep.
afterwards.
Oh yeah, we'll be able to have the nice woods scenery out there and everything. We've been getting a lot of questions, comments, emails sent to us about the property and what we're going to be doing here. A lot of what we're waiting for right now is the logging to go on, because once they start logging and everything starts opening up, we'll have a lot better idea of what the land's going to look like and what we can put where. Like this area right here to our left, this was all overgrown. It used to be a landing. They opened it back up and that just kind of opens everything up. And it makes it look completely different. So over here, this sometime will get turned into a pasture. It's southern facing, so we're probably going to put our solar panels right over on this edge. I'll show you, and then behind us we'll show you this is one of the house lots that we're thinking of. We've been doing a lot of exploring on the land and bringing you guys along with us on those, and a lot of that exploring is to see what the property has to hold. We have over 500 acres here, so there's a lot of land to see and to figure out what to do with each part of the property. Our big goal is to have a big farm here, but we want to have a diverse farm. We want it to be like our homestead now, but with more diversity to it. We want to have a lot of woods, pasture.
Yeah.
We want to have hardwood trees. We want to have maple syrup or maple trees so we can tap them to make maple syrup. And we have 2, if not 3 spots that we can do that in. But when we got to go out and we got to explore the land and see what's in each area, but also see what the area looks like, how the soil is, if it's wet, if it's dry, over different seasons of the year, what it's like. And we're going to be getting it logged, but we're getting around 70 acres logged, which sounds like a lot, but for the piece of property, which is over 500 acres, it's only like 15% of the property
Right.
that's getting logged. So for the size of the property, it's not that big. Well, compared to how big the property is, what we're getting logged isn't that big. Most of what we're getting logged is softwood. The firs here, they're at the stage, they weren't cut 30 to 40 years ago when they cut all the other wood. So it's grown up and it's getting big and it's gonna blow over if we don't do anything with it. We were actually up hiking yesterday.
Yeah.
And there was an area where it was just like toothpicks
Yeah.
that the firs were falling over, and we were trying to walk through it, and you're tripping
Yeah, you
over.
can't walk through it at all.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
tripping over yourself. So that's one of the reasons we got to get it logged. They will be logging some hardwood, but not a lot. The other thing is that leaves us with, say, have like 80% hardwood that's going to be growing up that we get to log in the future, or that we get to leave for sugar bushes, and that we can cut for ourselves to make our own lumber. We can have people come back and log it if there's a huge amount that we need. And then Olivia and her grandchildren, they'll have plenty of land to log here. And with logging in our area, they pay you to log it. You get a percentage of the money that they get. So it works out in everybody's favor to have it done. So all the work that we're having done right now gets paid for, and then we get something back out of it. We're waiting a lot for the logging because then we can open up areas and see what different areas look like. We're going to be doing patch cutting, so those patch cuts can be turned into pasture afterwards.
Yep.
We could leave them the way they are, and they'll grow back up into firs. And for a little while they might look a little ugly, and then it's going to get super thick. And the cool part about that is every stage of the process of growing is different for the ecosystem. So when it's barren at first, it just kind of looks meh. Then it starts growing these little firs, and then the rabbits love it. And the rabbits have plenty of place to live and to feed off of and to hide from the coyotes. Then the deers can come in and they can eat it in the wintertime, and then the process just goes on and on and on. Like, a lot of people don't like logging, but to me, logging is just like farming. Trees are just another byproduct, just like a vegetable is. You have to harvest them, otherwise they're no good. And if you keep growing them, it's a continuous cycle, and the different parts are good for everybody. So it's the same way to look at logging. When it's done properly, it is good for the landowner, it's good for the environment, it's good for everybody all the way around.
The wildlife, it
the-
brings in actually,
Yep.
once you log, if you do it correctly,
Right.
actually we'll start,
There'll be
we
more
should start
wildlife.
seeing more deer and
Right.
well, we haven't really seen, we've seen tracks, but
There's a
we'll
lot
start
of,
seeing more wildlife because they'll have more different,
they'll have feed.
the
They'll have the food sources. And then it'll be nice, we'll be able to make pasture, and then we can turn some of that pasture into feedlots for the deer. And then even if they're not feedlots, if we just have clover there, the deer are going to be coming in the wintertime to feed off of that. So everything we're doing here will better the environment, and it will better the animals, the natural animals in the area. So behind us here, we're trying to work with the harsh lighting. We got the snow and the sun blinding us, and the hard part about it right now is when you got snow on the ground, the sun glares, it messes up the picture quality of the video. So we're trying to work with all that. But behind us here is one of the areas we're thinking about building. We're I'd say 80 to 90% sure this will probably be the house lot. They're gonna come in here and they're gonna clear this area. The cool part about it is it's up on a knoll. It's self-facing, so we can have the house up a little bit higher. We can have a walkout basement like we have in our house right now. We love a walkout basement.
love it, love it.
It makes the basement more practical and more usable for so many things.
Yeah, so it makes it part of your house because otherwise, I don't know, I just feel like you have so much more square
Yep.
footage.
You can use the basement for living or for storage a lot easier. So in the basement we'll probably put an office or a bedroom. We'll do a root cellar down there. And then we'll have a deck on the front of the house. This is all our dreams as of right now.
Yeah, this is all just dreaming. We don't really know.
On the back, we'd like to have a mudroom connected to a garage. And then out behind us here, we'd like to turn into pasture. And it should be easily turned into pasture out and up quite a bit of a distance. Then there's another landing that comes out, and we could connect the pasture back up there to the road. It's all kind of hard to show it right now because it's so grown up in the trees, but once we get all up there and get it logged, you'll be able to see it a lot better, and we can show you the process. But we'll be able to have a huge pasture area out there, and we can have the barns over there, and then we got to figure out, this is all a long process, but we got to figure out where we're going to want to put the greenhouses, the barns, the sugar house, the solar. We'll probably do an outdoor boiler to heat everything, but the list goes on and on and on. It's going to be a big process. The more the stuff keeps happening, especially the logging, we'll be able to explain more to you, and we'll know more. Because even like with our property that we have now, we've done it in phases, and we don't put a set plan in place. We kind of go, okay, let's do this, see what it looks like, and see what will fit the land the way it is. So like,
the land and how our lifestyle is.
Right.
Too, yeah.
Like we were trying to figure out for the longest time where to put a barn, and then finally we started doing some clearing. We opened up that old road, and it was just, everything just kind of worked in pieces and puzzles when you work with everything.
Yeah, because we weren't going to put the barn there at all. That wasn't even
Nope.
in our mind. And then that happened, and the road happened, and it's so awesome. So it's just stuff kind of, you know, falls into place.
Right, you kind of let it flow and work with the land. So if you've got a piece of property and trying to figure out how to develop it, don't rush it, because there's so many different processes. The land changes through every season.
Right.
So you might have a dry time and the land might look this way. In the wintertime it might look this way, and then in the springtime it's going to be a little bit differently. So if you can get that all planned ahead and then map everything out, it makes your life easier because you're not fighting everything. And then for us, we're in northern climate, we get a lot of snow. When we're building, I'm always keeping in mind, how can we plow and have to do the least amount of shoveling? Like, you want to have your roofs facing the right direction, so when the snow falls off the roof, it's not messing up everything, and you want to make sure you have enough room to push the snow out of the way. It doesn't always work that way, but if you can plan ahead, it's better. Like, you figure out where you want your wood storage, how you're going to heat your house, where you're going to have your wood stove. Like, we'd like to have a wood boiler central, so we can heat the house, the garage, if we have a workshop. The greenhouse, if we had a greenhouse, it'd be nice to heat one of the greenhouses with radiant heat.
Yeah.
So say like 40 degrees, 50 degrees of soil. You can grow spinach and all those greens all winter long without a problem. So it's trying to plan all those little pieces, and it takes time, and it takes a lot of time figuring out the lay of the land. We're going to be off-grid here. We're going to be using solar. We'll probably do some water and some wind. So we got to plan into place where we want to put our solar. And if we put it up on a roof, we got to remember, if it's on a roof, we got to be able to get up onto that roof and clean the snow off of it all winter. So right now, that area I was showing that's behind you now, I'm thinking about putting the solar array lower on the ground so we can just go up to it and clean all the solar panels off. So there's a lot of thought process that's going in to this whole process, and we're trying to take our time and not rush it to see what fits the land the best.
Rush it as in you're rushing.
Right.
And then also, like, I mean, especially being outside all the time, we always notice this, but it's really dreary a lot of times.
Yep.
So we need to realize that the solar panels aren't always going to have sun, and I don't want to be afraid to turn on a light. I don't think any of us do. I don't want to be able to be afraid to turn on a light or use something or have to be like shut in the dark all the time just because I'm afraid to use the power.
Right.
So
up here in New England anyways, or at least northern New England where we are, in the wintertime you have a lot more cloudy days than you do sunny days. So when we size our solar system, we're going to have a lot more solar panels for the wintertime than we do in the summertime. So we'll have to oversize our solar array for our summertime usage, but for the wintertime we got to make sure we have more panels so that way we don't have to be running a generator all the time.
right.
And then we have the ponds, and the second pond is looking amazing now that he cleared around it. Once it starts, actually maybe one day this week we could do it. As I say, once it starts getting colder, which it's been cold, I'd like to get out there. I have an ice auger, get out there, open up a hole, do some ice fishing and see how deep it is and see if there's any fish in there. And if there's not any fish, we're going to stock them this springtime.
Definitely stock them. Not so sure about the ice fishing thing.
You can sit on the shore and watch me. But I definitely know I want to get out on the ice and check some of the ponds, see how deep they are, see how thick the ice is. But the more and more we keep opening this up, the more and more we're seeing how wide our options are of what we can do here on the property. So we're trying to keep everything open and be not get set into a way like this is the plan and getting stuck to the plan. We want to stay open so we can work with the potential that the property has to offer.
Right.
And we don't want to build somewhere or build something and then be like, oh, that's in our way now for this. When they opened up this landing, we were able to see how much sun exposure this area gets.
Right.
And then when we open up back here, this is really going to get a lot of sun. So it's going to be a great spot for a house. But then we can have solar over here getting sun all the time, and we can just trench it underground and run our wires to the house up there. I can't wait to see once this is all opened up how the sun gets in there. And then we'll keep our roof south-facing, so if we need to, we could put more panels on the house.
And one of my things that I'm thinking is, at this point, I would love to have like the fencing we have right now when we go to our house now, kind of right as you come up the road, and then you drive up, you see some goats, and then the house is across the road.
Yep.
I think that would just be so calming and relaxing.
We really don't know until you build and clear, but we'll clear here. The house is going to be higher. Down here we'll get cleared some, and there are mountains over there. So I don't know, or we don't know, what kind of view we'll have. If we have the house sitting here facing this way, what you're going to be able to see.
I just love this view.
Yep.
This view's good.
And we're going to get more view once they start
Right.
cutting. So when we're out exploring, we take you guys with us. That's what we're doing. We're looking to see the lay of the land and what it's suited for, or what we should be doing. So while we're out and you're exploring with us, leave it in the comments down below and let us know, like, hey, that area looks good for X, Y, and Z. Like, we were way up top, and there's some thick fir areas that they're going to be cutting, and I'm like, that would be nice to have those in the pasture. Whether we use them for ourselves, they would get used for pasture, I should say, probably in the spring and summer and early fall. But then once it gets winter, we're not going to be going up there. So it would be nice to have those like clover fields. And then the deer, the moose, they'd be loving to eat those all winter long.
Right. And we also want to leave trails, because we want to be
Yes.
able to take the side-by-side out and go for a little trail ride,
Groom the trails.
groom the trails,
Snowshoe.
Yeah, we just want to be able to do all that stuff. We want to be able to just come out and just have adventure in our.
Yep. And then the more trails you have and you groom them, the animals are going to use them, like the moose, the deer.
Then I can find my antlers.
Yep, they'll use the trails because they make easier walking for them.
Yeah.
So we're excited to get up here. Next winter is going to be completely different up here than what it is right now.
Right.
This coming spring is going to be completely different. We're hoping in a week or two that they should start logging.
Yeah.
So we'll be bringing you guys along that whole process, showing you the logging, showing you what the land looked like before they started, and then how it's going throughout the whole process. We're looking forward to it. Logging is one of those things that, yes, you can make money off of it, but you have no idea what you can make until after it's all said and done.
Right, and right now the lumber prices are high, but the prices of
2x4s are expensive
Right.
now, but the loggers aren't making any more money. So when we're selling the wood to market, we're not going to be getting any more money than we were when the 2x4s were half price.
Right.
That price has still stayed the same, and then there's just so many variables in it that you don't know until everything's all said and done and how you made out.
Right, and what kind of wood is in the chipper wood, it's all different. So
Yeah, different wood, and then when you don't know, you look at the tree like, oh, it's a beautiful tree. You cut it open, it's got a brown spot, or it's got
Right.
some rot, or it's got big branches, so you don't know. So we're just waiting to see what happens. Sorry we haven't shared more of what we want to do up at the off-grid property sooner, but it just seems, I don't want to say hard, but it seems a little lackluster. We don't have anything to show you yet because we're still waiting on the login to happen and the land to start changing. So if you guys have any more questions or what you want to know what's going on, leave it in the comments down below. We'll do our best to answer it and to show you what it's going to look like. But I mean, any day now they could show up and start logging, and that's just going to change the landscape, and we'll be able to show you a lot more of our visions, and we'll personally be able to see what the land has in store for us. It's hard seeing when everything's covered in trees, but we have a lot of great ideas in mind. So thanks for coming along on our homesteading journey. You guys are a huge blessing to us in our homestead. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps. Subscribe while you're down there, and we'll see you right back here in the next video.